Hi guys, good afternoon. Excuse the car noise and the jingles, but how are you? What's new and interesting going on in your life? Let me know down below in the comments. So in a previous video, I stated the title was something like, where would we go? If you haven't seen that, then go ahead and click the link in the description to watch that video first, because otherwise this video might be a little bit confusing to you guys. Ooh, it looks like I'm wearing a trucker hat because I got this bun so my hat doesn't go all the way down. It looks just so weird, but need the hat to protect my face from the sun. But anyway, so click the link in the description if you haven't seen the original video. And so I'm just branching off from that, and my family and I have done lots of research since then, and we've narrowed down our places to Washington and Oregon, and Arizona and Nevada, and Georgia, and Alabama. So then, speaking with my mother, of course, because she would be buying a house, she said that, which was my original statement, that no south, because in the south it's muggy and buggy, and she said that there's lots of prejudices and you have to deal with hurricanes. Excuse me, I'm opening my gate. But she would have to deal with hurricanes or whatever other natural disasters are there. But then again, in California, there's earthquakes. I mean, we haven't really had a bad one. I've never lived through a terrible one. So there is that. But yeah, so then John was like, well, because we were thinking it's super expensive to move and that might not be worth it. Plus, we have to go visit it, which costs more to spend the money for a plane trip and go visit it. So staying in our current state is also probably a viable option just for now, just because funds. And we also thought that it would be very important for us to stay in this state for right now, because we wanted to be close to our families here, and not necessarily be close, but we wanted to be able to visit our families on a regular basis. You know, John's dad lives in Davis, my brother and sister live in Palm Springs, my mom is here, and we have to take her into consideration because she's getting a little bit older, and you know, she's the one buying the house. We would just help her pay it off. So we also had to look for, what she was saying is the reason we picked those states was because she said, as a good idea, we thought as well, is to look for where the best job opportunities are that John wants to do and is capable of making good, sustaining living, and then go there, out from there. So see where we could work potentially. So we decided that we kind of thought moving out of state is an option, and it is cheaper to do so. But we know California, and we're comfortable with it for now. And if we can find a nice area, then we would do it if it was reasonable price. So our cap for purchase is $250,000. So that makes it a little bit hard to go in our particular county, and a lot of, well, most of California for that matter. So we decided that we wouldn't do that. But excuse me, there's dogs playing, so they're barking. So excuse that in the background. But we also figured that being close to family. But living in California and $250K being our cap was so hard. But family's very important to us, and I know they would miss us, and we would probably miss them and all the people. And plus, even when my mom does retire, she may want to go visit her old business or visit her old friends. Who knows? Maybe I want to visit my old friends at some point and not have it be super expensive, or have them come visit me. That in California offers a lot of opportunity to be in the film industry, which John did go to film school, so he still wants to be able to do that. So what we did find after researching all of California, because that's where we figured we would start out, because it's easiest to just move in the same state just for current purposes. And I mean, we thought that we can always buy something and it won't necessarily be our permanent residency. We can always rent out the place that we buy and move somewhere else, in state or out of state, and have that rental as, a passive stream of income, and still own the house to come back to if we ever decided to at one point or another in our lives. So it opens up some more options for us. That, and so we researched all of California just as a starting point, because we're already here. And so we figured, since John's family, his aunt and uncle, his dad live here, and my family is here, my mom and my siblings and my friends and all that, it's just a good starting point to be cheaper than having to visit all the places out of state and spend money on that. And if we decided we didn't like it, then we just spent all that money to go visit, and it wasn't worth our time and money, which we don't have very much of. So we're working on a very limited budget. So it's easier, we can just drive to wherever it is in California that we want to scope out and start there. So if we bought something, like I said, we don't have to make it permanent residency. My mom would just retire there, and then afterwards, if we wanted to move, we could go ahead and do that and rent out our property. So we looked all over California, and we found what I didn't know about. I didn't know very much about anyway, is Eureka, California. And Eureka, California is right under Humboldt, where Humboldt University is, which is, for those of you that don't know, is about 230 miles north of San Francisco. And it's on the coastline, which is super beautiful. If you've never visited the California coastline, you definitely should, because it's one of the most beautiful sights that there is in the United States. So there's that. That's a big plus, and there's lots of nature and things. And it's kind of like one of those little towns out of the way, in the middle of nowhere. And I did say I didn't want to be in the middle of nowhere, so I wasn't originally thinking that this would be a good idea. However, it's only about a 5 or so minute drive from Humboldt, which is, or Acadia, which is where Humboldt is, the city. And that's a big college town, so in college towns there's everything to do, and it's pretty happening. So that's nice. We can live kind of in the middle of nowhere, but not really in the middle of nowhere. So it has that middle of nowhere kind of small town, rural feeling, but you have everything at your disposal because Humboldt and Acadia or whatever is close. So we were looking into that, and my mom was like, okay, well, we should rent before, me, John, and the kids, proper English, John, the kids, and I, for proper English, would rent there and see if it was a viable option. And there's lots of factories and things there. So John has that experience in warehouses and stuff, so that we could work there. Also, there's probably lots of businesses in the college towns for, work and stuff. So that's also an option to look into the college towns that. And what I did find out, which I didn't know was over there, that there's a lot of marijuana business and cannabis business for like being a picker, for picking the leaves and the plants, or grower, or working in the dispensaries and things like that. And they pay 18 to 25, sometimes even a little bit more per hour. I was seeing most of them between the ranges of $18 and $25 an hour. So that's a really viable option for medical marijuana and cannabis, that he could work there, and as well as in the warehouses or somewhere in the college towns. So we found a lot of places that were decently priced, some prefabricated homes or mobile homes, things like that, that were under 200 or even 100,000, and we even found some that were even 50,000 and under. We also found guys, oh my gosh. So okay, listen to this story. So I was searching, and this is like crazy unheard of in my mind for California, but we found a 650, I think it was, square foot house for $700. Well, it was an apartment, 2-bedroom apartment, 650 square feet, which is like literally what we live in now, is 695 square feet for a 1-bedroom in an apartment complex. And we pay for ours, we pay $16.75 plus utilities, which is crazy because right now John makes like $30,000 a month driving Uber, which is pretty good for driving Uber, you know what I mean? But to have most of that go just to rent and utilities is crazy. So like, if he were able to find even a minimum wage job, between my disability income and his minimum wage, we would still live fairly comfortably in a rental for that. And my mom was thinking, well, maybe we should just rent there for a while and see what it's like to be a resident there, and scope out the area and see if it's something that we can go ahead and do. So we looked at flights, and I'm super pissed off because like the only flight that goes to Acadia or whatever that town is where Humboldt University is, I don't know, Acadia. Ooh, I'll look it up when I get back to my computer. But they, the town where Humboldt University is, the only airline that seemed to go there was Delta Airlines. And I planned a month in advance looking at flights. And the flight tickets for one person were round trip was $1,000 for the cheapest ones for Delta Airlines. And the other thing I didn't like about Delta Airlines was that I had a service dog who was half pit bull and half Shar-Pei, which I never took Delta Airlines. I always took JetBlue because I love them, and I've never had any issues with them. Not sponsored, but so they originally banned pit bulls and any bully type breeds on the airplanes, and that included service animals and emotional support animals. And I recently saw an article where the government agency had deemed that illegal. The Transportation Authority law place, whatever the organization is called, they had deemed that illegal. So that's good. And so they had to take that off. But for the longest time, there was no pit bulls or any bully type breeds, and they were giving people a lot of crap about their service dogs and the legitimacy or whatnot. And I have one of those, well, you've seen in previous videos, but I have a Chihuahua, and they'd probably think that I'm one of those foo ladies who just carry their Chihuahua everywhere around as pretend service dog or emotional support or whatever, because my disability is invisible. So he's hearing alert, but that's another story, which I'll get into in another video. But yeah, so John decided that he said that the cheapest option is probably to drive. And I bet driving along the coast, along Highway 1, would be so beautiful. So that would be a trip. I don't know how it would be with the kids. I know my toddler would probably quite enjoy it very much, but I've never had to take a trip like that while breastfeeding, because when I took those trips, my oldest son was with a bottle, so it made it a little bit easier to feed him in the car. So it'd probably be a lot of stop and goes and might take quite a while to get to where we want to go. But we figured we should go there, visit all the rentals, visit all the for sale stuff, visit Humboldt and the college town, all of Acadia, and that's what it was. I think it's Acadia. Yeah, so that's the town. It sounds right in my head. So, from my memory. But yeah, so we would go visit there and visit Eureka and see what it's like. I almost tripped. But not to be a resident, not to be a tourist and do all the touristy things, but go there and see what it's like to be an actual resident. Do the things that residents would do and what we would do on a daily basis, and see if it's a viable option to live there. So I know it's not the cheapest place to live, and we're not looking at the cheapest places anyways, and it's not the, out of state or a whole new world for us, but it's an option, and it's something that is easier for us to access. So I'm looking into all the jobs available, and the reason I do this is because I tend to do most or almost all of the job applications, because number one, I'm better at doing those personality tests where they ask you, what would you do? How accurate is this for you? Somewhat accurate or not accurate in this situation, for like those tests for doing the job applications online. Also, I'm better at writing resumes and cover letters. That's just my forte. And a lot of people said that I should list on Fiverr that I would write people's resumes and cover letters, which that's also an option. But the reason John has been able to get such good jobs so far is that I'm able to write cover letters and resumes quite well in order to fit the specific job and tailor his abilities in wording that makes it desirable to the employer. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the different jobs and see what's available. And we have 6 months before our lease is up. Our lease is up in March, so there's that. And I kind of really liked the fact that, it's closer to Oregon, and so I could visit there, if I ever wanted to, because I have a friend there, and I really like Oregon. But I think at this point in time, we're not sure if we're ready to make that leap into out of state for reasons that I've mentioned in this video. And so I'm going to go ahead and see. I don't know if we should go look at it and vacation there before we start applying, or if I should just start applying because it takes forever for online applications to get back to you as to whether or not they're going to hire you. And we're probably, just because this is California, I'm not too familiar with this area, but just because this is California, I know that it's probably going to take a while because we'll get more no's than we will yeses, or no responses at all, and it will take us quite a while to probably find something and get established. But I know that there's a lot of available options to us that are in a really good hourly rate range for us to start out on for John. So yeah, and I guess that's what's been up, and that's what we're up to. That's where our journey is going. I'm not sure about, excuse me, I had to pause that video real quick. I don't like to get other people in frame without their consent. So that's just a legal thing and a courtesy thing. So anyways, as I was saying, is I'm not sure about moving, but it's not like we have a choice right now because we can't sustain ourselves in the price that we're going, because our rent is going to be raised about $100 a year. And my mom said she was talking to a couple, and they've lived here 35 years, and their rent was raised something like $130 this year, which is like 6%, which is more than the usual 3%. And they went to the office and they asked, hey, my wife is thinking about retiring, and we've lived here 35 years, so can you break us a deal because we can't survive? And they basically said they couldn't. So now, after 35 years, they're going to have to move. And so they're going to move to Arizona and rent over there. And if they like it, then they'll go ahead and buy. And it seems like, I don't know about you, but it seems like a lot of old people like to live where it's super warm places. Is that because when you're older, your body's always colder? I don't know. Let me know. Why do stereotypically speaking, not always, but a lot of times, why do old people like to live in cold places, warm places and not cold places? Let me know down below. But yeah, so that's where our life is taking us. And if you live in Eureka, let me know. If you live in Humboldt, let me know. If you've ever been there or lived there or know somebody that lives there or anything information about it, let me know. Let's have a conversation down below. What do you think about our journey? What would you do if you were in my situation? Yeah, so I guess that's all I have for you guys for today. That's what's been going on. But stay tuned, because as per usual, I will always bring you guys along on this journey with me, so you can keep updated with me and we'll create a better life together. And so what are you guys doing to create a better life? Are you thinking positively? Do you have kids? What do you do to better yourself to make a good example for your kids? And that's what we're trying to do, is better ourselves to make a good life and a good example for our kids in our future. And that's what everybody should do. So I guess with that, that's my positive message for today. And I'll take you guys along on the journey, and I'll say, see you guys later, and have a good day. Bye.